chance. Now I'll show you something really fun. Okay, hit it.
Wow.
Today on You Make It, We Shoot It, we have shotgun slugs that are literally, figuratively, out of this world. We have two shotgun slugs today, one called the Orbiter and one called the URN. The URN is made out of all steel, has a big hollow point on the front, and I believe was made out of a copy machine roller. The remarkable thing is all these slugs were made using a hacksaw, a drill press, and some files. The Orbiter was inspired by the shape of the Apollo command module used during the lunar landings. The workmanship is very impressive on both the slugs. He even blued them afterwards. Evan told me that he studied some of my videos on what slugs have worked in the past and what haven't worked, and used that as the basis for his design. Since the slugs were slightly undersized, he used a split sabot design just to fill the space in the barrel. Pretty impressive stuff there. Evan and his wife Jessica have a store on Facebook, and they also have a store on Etsy. I have a link to both of these websites in the descriptions, where you can even buy an Orbiter slug for yourself. As you can see, we have 5 URN slugs and 2 Orbiter slugs to test.
All right, so today we're shooting an imported round, imported from the foreign country of Texas to California. These are homemade rounds. This one's called the URN, as you can see from the depression in the nose. Almost big enough to fit Grandma's ashes. We're going to do a little squirrel hunting today. Is that up there by the collar of the shirt?
Right in the collarbone.
The first URN slug was shot out of a Benelli Nova, which had a rifle choke on it. Now the first shot was a little bit high. He was aiming at the eyeball of Rocky the squirrel there. The slug continued on, passing through Doug, and went into orbit. The slug started tumbling immediately out of the gun, but then it's almost started to stabilize and actually hit nose first by the time it hit Doug.
Shot real high. Well,
We were aiming for Rocky's eye. We ended up catching Doug in the collar. Skipped off of his vest. Went through his nice new Nickelback T-shirt. Into his xiphoid process there. And then around here.
went right through it. Carried a little fluff with him.
All right, same manufacturer, also from Texas. This one's called the Orbiter. The shape of a U.S. spacecraft, I guess. Let's see how it goes. Oh! Wow! Oh! Wow!
Now that's a shot right in the big old eye.
So we were aiming for Rocky's big old eye, and there he is. Doug lost his helmet over that one.
Safety first, though. We gotta find that thing now. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's the one with the knurling on it. See, it looks like a little spaceship.
Not deformed one bit.
It actually looks like a nice round.
It is. He did a great job on him.
Still hot.
Got the little marking on there so we can see if it's turning and, you know.
Yeah, I want to see it later. I wonder how straight it goes. It looks like it goes very straight though.
Yeah, we'll see.
Straight.
This is perhaps one of the most accurate shots I've ever seen anyone make with any type of round, even a factory round, using a shotgun with no rear sight. That's pretty incredible. Gregg totally dotted the eye on this shot. Now, since Doug was wearing a Kevlar vest and we were able to recover that slug, we'll be able to shoot it one more time. Now, let's study the external ballistics. As you can see, the slug was flying nose first. It had a slight rotation caused by that rifle choke tube. Normally we see a little faster rotation when we're using that rifle choke, but still, despite the little speed wobble of the tail, the slug was very accurate and you can't argue with the results.
X marks the spot.
Oh my god!
Well, it went left, I can see the hole.
Yep, yep.
Oh my God.
Okay, let's check out the budget slow motion and see what happened on that shot. This one, of course, went to the left a little bit. Now the slug did go to the left, but it did manage to go through the entire length of that jug, which is about 16 or 18 inches. The slug still had enough energy to embed itself into Doug's vest, and we were using Doug as a backstop at this point just to capture these slugs. Now looking at the external ballistics, we can see that the slug really wasn't rotating. It was flying a little bit cockeyed, and that's probably why it veered off to the left a little bit.
Okay, another URN slug. Okay, anytime.
A quick look at the external ballistics, and we can see this slug had a lot of problems, a lot of tumbling, and when it's doing stuff like that, you're probably not going to hit anything.
Okay, instead of using the rifled choke, we're going to try it without any rifling and see how that goes. Sometimes the rifling will mess things up.
Wow. Oh, maybe that's what it needed. Wow. Oh.
Now we wanted to see how these would function out of a smoothbore shotgun without any rifling, no spin stabilization. Plus, Gregg's Weatherby shotgun has a red dot sight on it, making things a little easier to aim than using the Benelli. The good news is the slug was flying nose first, more or less. It was a little cattywampus, but that probably explains why it was off by a couple inches.
Belly bump. Okay. Orbiter.
Ready?
Yep, ready. Yep, ready.
What happened there? Anything?
I don't know.
This is the second orbiter that we had, and we tried to reproduce the conditions that we used in the first shot, and for whatever reason the slug just flew sideways.
Okay, we recovered some of the sabos, that's what they look like, and reloaded this one.
That one just came out of Doug.
No, this is the first one, the accurate one, the eyeball shot. Recycled orbiter at the belly bump. Hit it! Hit it!
Now this is the slug that hit Rocky right in the eye, but I used those recycled sabos that we found on the ground, and that probably is the reason why we didn't have any rotation and why it was not accurate.
URN, smoothbore. Okay, hit it. Now that hit it.
Wow. That was...
Now this is definitely a very interesting shot because we had terrible external ballistics, yet the shot was very accurate. He was aiming at the belly of the ballistic gummy bear, and that slug was flying sideways. And despite that, it was still flying straight and landed where he was aiming. Now looking at the external ballistics, we can see the moment before it hit, the slug actually turned a little bit and hit nose first. You don't really see a huge amount of cavitation because these are a solid steel slug. They don't expand or anything like that.
URN reboot. All right, hit it. I think it was very close.
That one felt like I had a little more oomph behind it.
Now, of course, Gregg was aiming at the center of this 18-pound chunk of lead. The slug managed to hit very close to the center, but we can see right away that the slug is tumbling end over end right before it impacted. Okay, let's take a closer look at the external ballistics, and we can see by some miracle the slug rotated once again and hit nose first into that plate. Without the budget high-speed cameras, we would have assumed that was a stable flying shot.
So there's steel versus lead where it plowed itself into the lead plate. And Anthony found this thing, which has actually got a little bit of damage on it now. It's tough to see with the...
It was going nose first, though.
Yeah. And it's tough to see on that camera there, but it is very slightly deformed. It's no longer round.
Let's see, let me hold it up. The back edge is broken now.
Yeah. look at the nose of that thing. It's actually a little bit
It's silvered.
pushed out of shape now.
Yeah, hollow point, man.
But you can see, look how the hollow point actually cast a little negative of itself down there.
No, flip it over. It bulged. Oh, it bulged out the back.
Just a little.
We don't see that often. Sometimes I'll go through it. That was
crazy. This thing planted itself right around that little cone.
Didn't bounce back, luckily. That's good.
No, it fell 3 feet out in front of the lead plate.
Yeah, that's cool.
But that definitely traveled nose first.
Yep.
And point of aim, point of impact. So very accurate round again on this one.
Yep, that was good.
You better believe it, buddy.
I just want to show you a project I was planning on filming. This is basically like a wax slug, but instead of wax I use rock hard putty. It's almost like a plaster. I mixed the lead shot with this stuff, and as you can see I used Peter's mold from Shop Time to form these into a pellet shape. Had a lot of problems just getting air pockets out of it, getting the shot to actually stack inside there neatly, which is very important. After all, it's not the wax that makes a wax slug strong enough to be shot, it's the array of the way the balls are actually stacked in there, each one touching each other, and it distributes the energy evenly across the slug. If you have any voids in there, gaps, air pockets, anything, it will be so weak it'll probably break, and it'll definitely be imbalanced. And as you can see, despite my efforts, there's still a couple air pockets that I couldn't get out of there. I did make the mix a little thinner and had a little better results, as you can see here. The numbers that you see represent the weight in grams, and these vary from 5 grams, which is no shot at all, up to 28 grams. Now when you're using a thick binder like this, or hot glue, or silicone, or whatever, the balls aren't going to have a tendency to self-stack like they would with that really thin hot wax. And even with wax, you still have to shake it a little bit to knock out some of the air bubbles and get the balls to stack in that perfect array. Now even though this rock hard putty is much stronger than wax, most of these slugs just broke apart due to air pockets, or the shot wasn't stacked neatly. So most of the slugs broke apart when shot.
Rock hard putty. Let's get rid of these things. Bad memories.
Bad memories. Yeah. I didn't chamber one for you.
Oh, when you said chamber, I thought you said you did for me.
Broke apart.
Yeah.
I think it stayed together.
Had a little bit bigger chunk.
That stayed together. Broke apart.
Maybe the heavier ones had some bigger chunks or something.
I don't know.
Man.
Now if I'm going to spend this amount of time making a single slug, and remember it has to set for half an hour too, it better be able to do something pretty amazing. But these have very low reliability, and in the time it took just to make this one slug, I could have made probably 50 wax slugs. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.